Hi everyone, I thought I'd do a quick tutorial on using the program Deep Sky Stacker. It's a free application for stacking your deep sky images. You need to have at least 50 stars in the image, so it's not suitable for stacking pictures of planets and the moon. There are different software for that. This is great because it's free and it's simple to use, and it's a good way to get started in stacking your deep sky images. It will stack pictures from both DSLRs and dedicated Astro cameras. Now, when you download it, it's free, and when you first open it, it looks like you can see here. Just before you start loading any of your images, first thing, go into the settings and just check your settings. For your raw files, these are your camera raw files, you will see I don't change anything in the standard settings for this. I just leave everything as it is. If you're using a dedicated astronomy camera then that takes pictures in FITS files, then you would need to go in here and select the camera Bayer pattern that it uses. For my Altair 183 it uses RGGB, which matches the pattern of the filters that cover the pixels on the sensor. You can see red, green, green, blue in this instance. Other than that, you can leave everything as is. And I'm just going to click OK to that. Now, you've got various options to open files here in the top left hand corner. First thing to open are your picture files. These are the actual photographs you've taken. And I'm going to open a batch of pictures I took of the Iris Nebula back in 2018. As well as loading that, you then need to load your dark frames. And again, I'm going to load some dark frames that I took to match that. You can also load flat files and dark flat files and bias files. I'm not going to go into how to take these or what to do because it's not the subject of this short video. It would make it too long, and I'll maybe do one of those a little later on what they are. So now that you've loaded all of the images that you want to stack, you need to click check all so that it literally puts a tick in the box against all of them and it will include them to stack. You then need to select register checked pictures. Now, here is your register checked pictures. You see it's going to stack 100% of the pictures. You can change this if you've got lots and plenty to spare and you haven't had an opportunity to individually examine your individual subs, then you might want to reduce that to 80 or 90%. But because I've been through all of these subs and I've checked them individually and deleted any that I didn't like, I'm happy for it to stack 100% of the frames that I've loaded. Now, in order to stack the images, it needs to see at least 50 stars. And you can work out how many stars it can see by clicking on here. So I'm going to tell it how many stars to see if it's going to stack. And you can see my images have found no stars at all. This is a common problem with the Altair 183 camera. So I'm going to just close this down for a moment and show you what's happening. I'm going to click on one of my light frames and you can see it's black. There's no information on there at all. So let's go into the settings again and to the raw fit settings, and it's to do with the way the camera works. Now, where it says brightness 1, change that to 16 and then click OK. Now we can see some stars. So again, if I open register pictures and click on advanced, let's compute that number of stars again. It's now seeing 227. As I said, you need to see at least 50 stars, but a couple of hundred is really good. If you're not getting that, you can increase the sensitivity and move it down. The most sensitive would be 2%. If I click on that again, just to show you, if I've changed the sensitivity down to 2%, you'll see now instead of seeing a couple of hundred stars, it's actually saying over 1200 stars. That's probably a little bit too many. It will work fine, it just means it will take a long time to stack. So I'm going to put that back to 10%. I'll just double check again that it can see some. There we go, 242 stars, and I'm happy with that. Now, in your stacking parameters, again, I change very little in this. Your stacking standard mode, it will make a picture the same size as your camera sensor is taking the picture of, and anything outside of that, it will crop. Mosaic, it will keep every bit of every single picture, and it will give you a mosaic of your image. In those circumstances, you'll get a lot of part of the image where there's no data, and you will just get a black image. Intersection mode will give you a smaller, and it will only stack and only produce a picture of something that appears on every single frame that you're wanting. So most of the time, you will have it on standard mode. You can also tell it to align the RGB channels in the final image. This, of course, is if you're using a color camera. These are your lights. There are different stacking modes. I find that the Kappa Sigma clipping works best for me 99% of the time, so I just leave it at that setting. If you've got very few frames, 2 or 3, then you might want to use a median or an average. If you've got lots of frames that were maybe taken at different times, when the camera might not be in exactly the same orientation in your telescope, or the sky conditions were slightly different, so the background colour of the sky is slightly different, you can use the entropy weighted average, and that gives a better smoothing out of the different dynamic ranges of the frames. Entropy is also quite useful for stacking objects that have a high dynamic range, such as the Orion Nebula or the Andromeda Galaxy. It stops the bright bits getting blown out too much. Again, your dark frames, I use the same medium Sigma clipping, and alignment, I just leave that at automatic. No need to change that. Your intermediate files, just make sure that it says TIFF, because if it saves it as a FITS, unless you've got some special software that can actually read and open FITS files, you will struggle. The cosmetic, I have never touched that. I just leave that as is. There are some tutorials online if you want to mess with those settings, but if you're just getting started, don't touch it. Your output, again, just output it as a TIFF file. It will create a file and it will call it autosave.tiff. If you stack it more than once, it will save the file and it will incrementally number them, as you can see there. So that's it, that's all you need. Just click OK to that. Now we're ready to stack. There's this thing here called recommended settings, and it will give you options to change some of your settings. As you can see here, it's suggesting that I use auto adaptive weighted average rather than the Sigma clipping, but I prefer my Sigma clipping. So I'm going to say OK to those, and I'm just going to say OK. So now I've got 2 hours and 13 minutes of exposures, 19 frames of 7 minutes each. And we're just going to click OK, and it's going to start stacking them. First of all, it is going to create a master dark from my darks, so you can see it's adding the dark frames and then it's computing the master dark and it's going to create it. I'll just let this happen. It will then start reading your light files and putting them into the stack. It will take quite a bit of time. You can see now it's registering the 19 images. Rather than just have you watch a screen, which will get very boring, I'm going to pause it there and we'll restart it when it's nearing completion. So I've just restarted again. We've come back. We're just coming to the end of the stack. It's taken 2 or 3 minutes. And now it's computing the final picture. Once it's computed the final picture, it will save it. And it will also load the picture into Deep Sky Stacker so you can see it. Here we are, computed. It's still aligning the channels now, as I told it. Now it's saving. Now the autosave, this one says autosave 005 because, as you can expect, I've done this a few times. And here is the loaded picture of the Iris Nebula. If you look at the bottom part of the screen where I'm circulating the mouse, although I told it to align the channels, you can see it hasn't done a brilliant job of that. So by clicking on these levels here, what you can do is you can just slide the various options to line them up. By clicking on the color, you can slide it along if you like, but once it gets close to being accurate, you can use the arrow keys on your keyboard and get them lined up. Again, the blue, there we go, and just apply that. And that will give me, now I'm quite happy with that image. Maybe I could move them all just a little bit to the left again, away from that curve, just to make the background a little bit darker. When I started out in astrophotography, one of the best pieces of advice I ever got, it was from Paul Jenkins, and he said, the sky's not black. Do not make the sky in your astrophotography images jet black, because it just doesn't look natural. And that's probably the best piece of advice that I ever got. Anyway, here is my Iris Nebula, roughly edited. It's a black and white image, of course, and this was taken with a colour camera, and that's because the saturation of the image is set at 0. I'm just going to lift it to about 25%. It will vary from image to image how much you would have to lift it by, but I'm going to put 25% and I'm going to click apply. And you can see, therefore, now we've got some colour coming through. And this will give you a reasonably acceptable image. I would be quite happy with that. If you have other software like Photoshop or GIMP, you can certainly re-edit your photographs in that. In fact, if I was using Photoshop, I would start from the beginning with my autosave image rather than do anything in Deep Sky Stacker. But Deep Sky Stacker certainly gives you a nice acceptable image. I'm going to save this. If you click on Save Picture to File, it's going to be saved as a TIFF image. I'm going to save it on the desktop, and I'm going to call it Iris, because that's what it is, and we will call it DSS Stack, just so I can identify it on my desktop. A 16-bit image. These options at the bottom, if you're wanting to save the image that you've edited, just make sure that little box here, Apply Adjustments to the Saved Image, is ticked. If you don't have that ticked, then it will not save your edits. So I'm going to click Save. And it saved it. Let's just see if we can open it. I'm just going to open this. So there's my image that I saved, and there it is. Let's just make it quite big. You can see it's not a bad stack. It's a little noisy when you zoom in for your images like that, but there you go. That's not a bad stack of Deep Sky Stacker. Again, Photoshop may be able to bring a little bit more out, but that's very simply how to use Deep Sky Stacker. Coming back to that thing at the beginning I did with the raw fits files, you would only really need to do this adjustment to the brightness if you have to, if you find your images are a bit dark. And as I say, I don't need to do that for my DSLR. I only need to do that for my Altair. Anyway, thanks for bearing with me right through to the end of this, and hope you take some good pictures.